Honest, deliberate, engaging, uncensored.
High-dosage administration can cause adverse reactions.
And most importantly, independent in mind and execution.
This is a normal response. Are you ready?
Marawa Sports Worldwide.
This is the day when South Africa decide on the future of our country, who should lead the government of South Africa.
Sundowns, 50 wins. Aye, lela record baba. Angiboni sikhona uphinda liphule. Lifetime baba, in our lifetime angiboni baba. Aw.
Just want to say, yay, the Cape Town Tigers are doing us proud over there in Kigali. At the Basketball Africa League, the NBA Conference Finals are happening. Well, the Boston Celtics just advanced to the finals now.
Please don't be lazy, because laziness is not going to fix this country. You're going to be complaining about load shedding and water cuts and all of those things next week if you don't vote today. So even if you were thinking, why should I vote? Go and do it. It's the right thing to do, because we need a better South Africa.
Robert Marawa, live on 947. Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Sowetan Live. #MSW.
We are going to be linking up any second now with Manchester United coach, that is Benni McCarthy. We'll also be bringing you some of the latest breaking news stories on what has been a very busy voter day. So wherever you are around the country, I hope it's been a good one. And you know what, if you are waiting still in a long queue, as I'm seeing on television right now, just tap each other on the shoulder, tell each other, you know what, with the bit of battery that you've got left, you're going to be switching on to the Primedia Plus app. You're going to listen to the show. You can go on the YouTube channel. We are live right now, because you don't want to miss this. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And they're even on Sky Sports News as we speak. The coach of Man United, the man who's the boss to Benni McCarthy, is being featured there. So we'll find out the latest. We've got so many questions to ask. But with that, and with the celebrations around the country, the frustrations around the country, you not being too sure, people arriving late, ballot papers not arriving. You know what, it's 30 years, guys. It's 30 years of democracy in South Africa. You want things to improve. And I hear people saying that they want things to change. That's a very loaded statement. It's a very loaded statement. If you want things to change, does that mean what? You want the big bucks or you want the change?
Previously on Marawa Sports Worldwide.
Dance, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Robs. It's been a while. At least you remember me today.
How can I ever forget? Feeling stronger. What are your wishes, Dance?
Well, my immediate wish is to win the playoffs. That will be a big, good birthday present. These ones, you must treat them as cup matches, you know. So
the format of this playoff has changed, Dance, as you would know.
I think at the moment when I look at it, it's suitable. We play the first match and then we're not playing immediately. Either going to put pressure on the players or relieve pressure. We need to be careful how we thread with this thing.
#MSW. #MSW. Wednesday nights, soccer nights, your nights.
Soccer nights, exclusive interview nights, voter night, you name it. It is all happening here in South Africa. Now, I think when you talk about this gentle giant, his journey from the challenging Cape Flats to the hallowed grounds of Old Trafford, it is kind of a testament, though, of perseverance and hope. It's exactly what it is that we are celebrating here today. With everybody going to vote, it is part of that change. Otherwise, do you think Benni McCarthy would have gone to Old Trafford? He'll tell me. I mean, a true example of African excellence in football in Europe. And this guy was born and raised in the Cape Flats, an area notorious for poverty and crime. I mean, he defied the odds to become a professional footballer as well as a successful coach. And he's always credited his unwavering belief in himself as well as his willingness to work hard for his dreams as the keys to his success. And whilst this past season wasn't the best, and we've got to be honest, it wasn't the best for his club, Manchester United, finishing 8th, which has been their lowest performance and position in 34 years. But look at them now. Hey, they secured European football qualification. They clinched that FA Cup at Wembley. That was just as early as this past weekend against Manchester City. They are bitter rivals. And one cannot speak of the current Manchester United team without mentioning the one and only Benni McCarthy. I mean, he's transitioned from a fervent Man United supporter in his youth to a triumphant coach in one of Europe's Premier Leagues. I mean, his story is nothing short of remarkable. That belief, that sense of belief, that sense of I can, I will, I'll get out of these borders of South Africa and I'll go make a difference in the world. That's been Benni. I mean, as Bafana Bafana's leading goal scorer of all time, not just goal scorer of the season or the year, of all time. I mean, revered by United stars. You talk to Amad Diallo. I mean, Benni McCarthy beamed with pride when he was part of that dream team that guided the Red Devils to victory as EPL Cup champions. That was last year. And again recently, as he hoisted that FA Cup coveted trophy for the club that he was cherished his entire life. Now, as United conducts its end-of-season review, there's a great deal of anticipation brewing around for everyone at Old Trafford. But hey, for now, Benni is in the area, ladies and gentlemen. Let's catch up with him and all things that are going to do with Benni as well as Manchester United. Benni McCarthy, an absolute pleasure. Good evening and welcome to the show.
Good evening, as always, my brother, man. Robster, always a pleasure and a privilege to be on your show. And I've kind of missed this, man. We used to do this on a regular basis, and now, we've kind of not done this again. So, yeah, again, thanks in a million for having me.
Yeah, you see, before, Benni, the one thing that was guaranteed was the fact that I could reach you. Now you play for a club where there is order, there's protocols. I can't just latch on to a phone call with you at any time.
But we still boys, I'm a phone call away, and I would give you it straight up now. If it's a yay or a nay, can't or I can't, or I can or I can't do it. But anyway, I appreciate the fact that you've given me the space to just find myself, find my feet, and settle down at one of the biggest clubs in the world. And that's exactly what I've done. So thank you for allowing me, the space to be able to focus and just work my way up and do what I had to do without any distractions. So yeah, I appreciate that. But I'm here now. Season's finished. Now I can just feed up, kick up a little bit, and just enjoy.
We're enjoying something called voting today, Benni McCarthy. As a South African and one that's eligible to vote, have you voted?
Unfortunately, Manchester, there's no voting stations here. You have to go to London, and I think I think it was just a little bit complicated for me. But I've been anticipating what's happening, because obviously it is our country's future. So I've been highly anticipating seeing what's happening back home, and just that that we're gonna get the best government that the people deserve.
I know when I spoke to you off air, you said the lights on, is there load shedding? And I said, we haven't seen load shedding in almost 2 months. We just hope and pray that after the last vote has been cast, we're not back to stage 4.
You always have to find the sarcastic side of it. I was just popping the question because every single time when I do speak to my boys, Coach Munib Josephs or Pilela Maposa or Coach Basil, those are my guys that I'm in contact with all the time, and that's the first thing they always tell me. Coach, you're not missing nothing at home. Ace, we're sitting here in the dark, load shedding. So so that's why I was asking you just that question, because I keep getting it from my guys, so I just wanted to be asked to pop their question.
Yeah, it's an important question. I think it's as important as asking for your reflections, though, on the season. I described it, and everybody knows because you look at the where you finish in the league, and when they say it's the worst in 34 years, that's what history tells us, Benny. How would you, from where you sit and where you work at Carrington as well as Old Trafford, how would you describe the Man United season?
No, obviously, I think history's got a point. It's the worst season that we've contested at the club, but I think also it's the first time in the club's history where we had such a bad luck with injuries, and I mean, yes, people say don't make excuses, and you've got more than enough, a big depth squad, of top flight players that should be doing the job on a daily basis. Not when you play in the Premier League. In the Premier League, if you don't have your best squad available, you're going to fall short because any team beat any team in this Premier League. If you don't have the depth of the squad, if you don't have 2-3 players for every position that's as solid as the other, then you definitely not gonna succeed, and that's what the Premier League is. That's why it's the most toughest league. And I'm at the club on a daily basis, every single day, and I see the struggle. And that genuinely isn't making excuses or we got the tactics wrong. I've never in my life experienced anything like that. Not as a player, and now I've done as a coach, where we've had like between 13 and 15 senior players out injured every time. Like, I mean, the manager, we were only able to play with our strongest team up until the FA Cup final. 4 games prior to that, the whole season, we had consecutive, we played the same team 4 times. Every other time, we had to swap and change and find this combination and see if this works, because injuries. And then at a stage, we ended up having 14 senior players out the squad, and our bench consistent of under 21 players. Yes, you play for Man United, so you play, whether you play in the under 21s, you're making progress, breaking through and coming into the first team. But when you're up against Bournemouth, Brighton, Everton, and all these teams that people think we should be beating, they fighting for their lives, they fighting for points, and if they see a little bit of weakness in that United squad, and they're rubbing their hands, and that's what we had to face every single weekend. Just hope that our team is strong enough to be able to get us through, and that genuinely was what it's like, and it's been an absolute nightmare. So for everyone to say it's been the worst season, yes, it has been, but it's also been like the worst in terms of when you as a coach working for a club like Man United, and the things that we had to deal with in terms of injuries. No coach, not even the best, not even the great Pep Guardiola, survive a season at Man United or finishing in the top 4 with the squad, with the difficulties that we had with injuries, with all those injuries. That ain't no excuse.
I hear you, Benny, and that's why I'm saying that we would take that, and as observers, the counter to that would be, what about the handling of some of these sticky situations around some of your top players? I know that a guy like Marcus Rashford, he's lost form, and he admitted as well that 2023-24 season was challenging for himself as he battled poor form on the pitch. There were behavioral issues off the pitch, and then there was also the handling or mishandling of the Jadon Sancho one. He's going to be in the final for the Champions League over the weekend. Just based on those two who would have been otherwise available and producing and delivering the goods for Manchester United, what's your take on them?
Like I said, Robbie, I think it's been just one of those seasons, and as a manager, as a human being, you're not always going to get everything right. you know. Like everyone, the Sancho situation. The Sancho situation blew up, and both the manager is extremely strong character, strong personality, and I think Jaden, being from also the streets, you live by a street code, and in his eyes, he felt that he was not in the wrong and he didn't do anything wrong, so he didn't see the need why he had to apologize. But I think sometimes you got to be the bigger person, you just apologize, because a player is never going to win a battle with a manager, and I'm afraid the street kicked in the Jaden saga. So yeah, Jaden didn't want it to back down as well. So and I'm afraid, because the two are such strong characters, neither of player and the manager was gonna accept anything less than an apology, or Jaden was not gonna accept that he has to apologize, and then it ended up dragging, and then it caused the situation that it caused, where it could have been easily avoided, just by communication and that. But things just went as far down the line that the relationship became like.
It was soured. Yeah, it was soured for forever, I would imagine, though, Benny. And just quickly before I take a break, you mentioned something quite honest, and I tend to appreciate that when you say that the streets kicked in terms of Jaden handling it the way that he did. And I'm thinking to myself, Benny's from the streets. How much of an influence would you have had to say, guys, listen, let's have calm heads. Jaden, listen, man, you handle it this way. I'm from the streets. I understand where you come from. I understand your background. How do we resolve it any better? Were you given that opportunity to do that?
Yes, I did. I had a conversation with the manager, because obviously we have allocated players to us, and then you mentor them. So the coaches have group of players that they mentoring, and obviously, so Jaden was part of my group of players that I'm mentoring, like the strikers, some of the wingers, Jaden and Anthony. They also in my group, Anthony dos Santos. So in that situation, so I spoke to the manager, and I said to the manager about the delicacy, and I think Jaden just feel that if he apologizes, then he's gonna be classed as someone that don't train hard, that don't work hard, who everything that was said against him was true, and the streets, if you from there, no one wants to apologize, so that meaning that you admit that you are not training well, that you are lazy, or that you like everything that you were accused of. So that's what I meant when the streets kicked in, and Jaden wasn't going to have that. So then the manager just said simple that, all he wants is just an apology, just for Jaden to come. And I spoke to Jaden as a coach, I spoke to Jaden as a mentor, I spoke to Jaden as a friend, and I spoke to Jaden as someone that grew up in the streets as well, that understands the code and everything. But yeah, Jaden he wasn't seeing rash, and Jaden was just like, I ain't apologizing, because if I apologizes, I'm apologizing to being lazy, to always being late in training, and always not giving my best, and all that. That's what I'm apologizing for. That I do all those things, and that those were his reasons for.
So he didn't want to attach his name, I suppose, Benny, to all of those negative attachments to him. All right, we're speaking. It's our exclusive Voter Day exclusive right here on #MSW. It is Marawa Sports Worldwide live on Rise FM, Sowetan Live, Vuma FM, and of course on 947. Don't go anywhere.
#MSW live now on 947 Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Sowetan Live at the same time. #MSW.
It's time to live it up with Lotto Stars live games. Pick a card, roll the dice, or spin the money wheel. There's a live game for you. Bet now on our blackjack, poker, roulette, game shows, first person, or baccarat and sickbo. The options are endless. You could win payouts of up to 10 million rand. Immerse yourself in a world of live games now at lottostar.co.za. Lottostar is licensed by the Mpumalanga Economic Regulator. No under 18. NRGP 0800 006 008. T's and C's apply. All games are fixed odds betting events.
In a nation built on the principles of democracy, the upcoming elections in South Africa are a crucial moment for its people.
But despite all the promises of equality and change, many are asking themselves whether these elections will truly bring about the accountability that is desperately needed.
Join us as we delve into the complexities of democracy in South Africa.
Tune in to ENCA DSTV channel 403 and ENCA.com.
Just me and my GWMP series against the wilderness, conquering the ferocious school traffic with adaptive cruise control, dodging delivery bikes with autonomous emergency braking. Hi, honey.
Did you take my P series?
Mom, Dad's doing that thing again.
The GWMP series LT 4x4 from just 7,899 per month. T's and C's and more at gwm.co.za.
Welcome to another episode of Hey Duck, Riddle Me This! Okay, Duck. A train leaves the station and travels north at a speed of 75 kilometers per hour. At precisely 20 kilometers, which is 2/3 into the journey, you spill your coffee on your white shirt. How will you clean it? Correct! Mac Auto Powder. Anything else is just wrong.
Want to win a car with Spar? Swipe your Spar Rewards card when you buy any participating product and stand to win one of 50 fiery red Hyundai Grand i10 sedans. Competition ends 2 June. Get 1 kg Kellogg's Cornflakes for $64.99. Save 15 Rand. Or Pampers Active Baby Jumbo Pack Nappies, Pants or Premium Care Value Pack for $229.99. Rewards customers save 83 Rand. Price is valid from 22 May to 2 June. T's and C's apply.
There are so many delivery apps in SA. You've got in 60, as soon as possible, and takes a lot longer. The problem is when you want to buy bread from, fruit from, meat from, and a new pan from, that's when things get. Simplify shopping with one card. Multiple stores in 60 minutes. Download one card and get 100 Rand off your first order. Shop it all in one card. T's and C's apply.
Previously on Marawa Sports Worldwide.
Dan Dance Malisela. Happy belated birthday, Dan Dance. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Robs. It's been a while. At least you remember my birthday.
How can I ever forget? Feeling stronger. What are your wishes, Dan Dance?
Well, my immediate wish is to win the playoffs. That will be a big, good birthday present. These ones, you must treat them as cup matches, so.
The format of this playoff has changed, Dan Dance, as you would know.
I think at the moment when I look at it, it's suitable. We play the first match and then we're not playing immediately. Either going to put pressure on the players or relieve pressure. We need to be careful how we thread with this thing.
#MSW. #MSW. Wednesday nights, soccer nights, your nights.
Yeah, it is a Wednesday night. It is soccer night. It's voter night. And it's an exclusive night with Benni McCarthy joining us all the way in the UK. And that's where we're having our conversation today. I asked him anything off bards. He said, no, you know what? I'm chatting to you. Nothing is off the limits. We're going to chat about anything you want to ask me. Throw it to me. And I said, okay, that's the type of interview that I love. And I know a lot of people have already gathered around on their YouTube channel. Please continue, man. There's a lot of your comments. Chloe Ramuruka says that I'm listening and watching the best sports program on the continent. The best deliver comes along. The best pictures, says Benny, is in the 18 area. And then Tobegile says, how soon can we see Benny coaching Bafana Bafana? Chloe also says, you know what, tell Benny that whenever he visits South Africa, he must first come to the 947 studios. I am going to try and convince him to do that. Yeah, More Vision's not happy about Rashford, saying that Rashford must go. We'll find out about that. And More Vision also says, yeah, Sancho must not apologize, agreeing with what Benny was giving in terms of that story. And does he think INEOS will make a big difference as far as they're concerned? So some good questions that are coming through. Tom's been holding on from Edenvale. Let me take Tom first before I get live back again with Benny. Tom, good evening. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rob. Good evening to you. Good evening to Coach Benny.
Yeah, Tom, go ahead. I'm going to ask you to ask the question. Otherwise, we do have that slight delay. So ask the question and I'll ask you to listen on the radio. Tom. Hey, imagine Tom's been holding on for so long and then he disappears. Do try again, Tom. I think it's just a connection issue, but it shouldn't stop us in any way from making a connect back with you.
Good evening, Mr. Marawa, and good evening to Benny. Benny, since you joined Manchester United as a forward coach or as a striker coach, you managed to improve certain players, the likes of Rashford, to score goals. So my question to you is, do you believe or do you subscribe to the view that we need to emulate a similar strategy at Bafana Bafana level? Yes or no? Thanks, David in Parkwood.
David in Parkwood. Benny McCarthy, you want to answer that?
Yes, Robbie. Hey, David. I think having a support system, an attacking coach or strikers coach, however you want to call it, at Bafana levels, I don't see, why that could be such a bad call, because it's just a nice little support for the strikers. Having a coach that's played their position, that's probably played at levels that they used to, that they know, whatever advice and whatever drills or whatever you do on the training field, that this is a guy that's been there before them. So, you watch and you learn, you can take stuff from it, or you can ask a lot of questions how to improve. So I think it only benefits the players, like having someone, that's been in your situation that you can ask a lot of questions about, and that also understands the kind of drills, the kind of movements that's needed for specific roles in specific game situations. So yeah, I don't see why that can't being implemented in Bafana. But at the end of the day, that's all down to the head coach. If the head coach wants to do something like that, then yes, of course, it will be, it could be a good adjustment to the team, and could have some loads of benefits as well to it.
I think one of the latest stories, Benny, it's a fresh story. It's still making headlines and breaking news around the world, where we've been told that some of the club employees have been asked to take what they call voluntary resignation, and they've been given up until the 5th of June to make a decision. Has such a thing landed on your lap?
Unfortunately, in there, I don't have a Scooby-Doo, not a clue on how true or how false that is. But from what I've seen, INEOS has came into the club, and yeah, things are just, people are on their toes, which is amazing, because you can see like the difference new people, new owners bring to the club. People are sharp, and yeah, it's just a nice vibe, a nice atmosphere. And also when you talk to them in the corridors and stuff, at the training ground, at the club, the positivity and where they want to see the club, they want to see success, and they want to be part of the success. So those are all great. So I don't know. I've not gotten not a wave of trouble is lurking, trouble is coming. People have been asked for resignations. I've not had a wave of that, so I genuinely don't know where that comes from, or if it was coming from the top, or if it's just an unpleasant rumor to destabilize the club or to destabilize what INEOS and Manchester United is trying to do. But yeah, so I can't really comment on that because nothing like that's landed on my lap or any of the coaches that I've been involved in. So unfortunately, that's as much as I can tell you about.
Have you met personally Sir Jim Ratcliffe?
Yeah, I met him a few times because he's very often he's at the training ground. He's at Carrington, and then like making waves, getting to know the people that works for the club, and that's going to help the club rebuild the club back to where it's supposed to be, back to the top. So yeah, so they at the club quite a lot, and I met him a few times, and very nice man, and he seems to know people by name, and that's the very surprising part. You have a conversation and he calls you by name, so I think that's impressive. For a billionaire, he doesn't have to bother getting to know my name or any of the staff if you're not the manager, but he does know our names, and it's quite refreshing that they show that much respect and wanting to know the staff that works for them. So that I thought that was a really nice touch. He calls you by name, Benny, everything okay, and Bob, and how do you find this? And yeah, it's just nice. It's just nice.
I know, Benny, that obviously your contract is up. There's been, so much discussed about Erik ten Hag, whether or not he will leave. There probably would have been a decision taken had Man United, let's say, lost the FA Cup. I mean, I don't know what the workings are, but for you personally, is the desire to continue at the current job? Is the desire for Benni McCarthy, the coach, the coach that came to South Africa, broke records. And we've heard earlier on Eric Tinkler talking about how well you did when you were at Cape Town City. We've seen how well you did at AmaZulu, finishing second, coach of the season, playing TP Mazembe home and away, beating them on both of those occasions, and leaving a very good track record as a head coach. Does the desire for you to be a head coach now return?
Oh, most definitely, Rob. Every single day when I wake up and I go into the training ground, that's that is like the ultimate. It's forever in my head. Like, imagine one day being the manager. Imagine one day coaching this great team. So yeah, the desire, the hunger is still there. But obviously, my role as a first team coach, working with the attacking players. Then that quickly then kicks in, and then you do your duties and that. Now that the season's over, like, I absolutely adore and I love my role. I love working for Manchester United. And yes, but obviously the itchiness, the desire, the hunger to be a coach, to be a manager, to be the man in charge, making the decisions. Of course, that's always there, and I don't think it will ever go away. Once you get that bug, then it always comes back. So my time here, if it is the end, like my contract is coming to an end now in June, and and if the club wants me to continue and that in the role that I have, I would be grateful and it will be amazing. But yeah, I would miss having to wait another year or 2 years, forever, however long it would be that the club would want me to stay. I would miss being out coaching and being ahead and like
being the man in charge, basically. Kaizer Chiefs need a coach. Your name has been thrown in there. Would you be interested?
Being back in the coaching area. That's what I miss. I miss that with a passion. And yeah, someday it's gonna happen, and I'm gonna go back to that. But at this moment in time, I just don't know, because once I don't know if I'm staying or if I'm going, because the club is obviously still going through the whole process with the manager and the rest of the coaching staff. So what's gonna happen if So then after that. Then I definitely I wanna coach, I wanna manage, and I'm itching to go. So because I feel like I've learned a lot my 2 years, working at Man United. I worked with Eric, and I've seen how unbelievable manager he is, the intelligence, how smart. It's like he's one of the smartest coaches, managers I've seen.
Let me squeeze that one in again quickly, Benny, because while Man United are deciding on people's futures and adults' futures, and I think that was also the frustration from Erik ten Hag, if you in the meantime were to get a call from that arena and Kaizer Chiefs say, Benni McCarthy, are you interested at least in having a conversation? Would you be keen?
Rob, not many coaches in the world say no to institutions. Man United is an institution. Real Madrid is an institution. Bayern Munich is an institution. Look, Vincent Kompany, he's gone to Bayern Munich. He's gone to join an institution. And I think Kaizer Chiefs, you can safely say that Kaizer Chiefs is also an institution, So listen, it's a great club. It's a club that I always have a lot of love for, because it's my local team, my team in South Africa that I supported as a kid. Loved the black and gold, everything Kaizer Chiefs. So unfortunately I've never had the pleasure to play for them or to coach them. So I can't really speak on others, but if the opportunity comes, if the opportunity arises or anything, of course, you would have to sit down and think about it, because, like I said, you don't say no to institutions. So
powerful
that's
words.
where I stand.
Yeah. Don't even mess up those words, Ben. I think you've summed it up very beautifully. Benni McCarthy is my guest at our exclusive that we're chatting to him tonight on Voter Day around the country, the continent, the world. Hey, our brothers, our sisters listening in Ghana, we see you, we thank you, and I'm hoping that everybody else who is listening to the show will contribute. And Jabulo and Tom, you're on the line. I'll be back with you in a second.
#MSW live now on 947 Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Soweto Live at the same time. #MSW.
It's more than a house. It's where Ma taught Kiara to cook her famous butter chicken. And it's where she will one day teach her daughter the secret recipe.
ABSA Insurance covers things that matter with simple and affordable building and household contents insurance. Get insurance in under 5 minutes with cover for accidental power surges and more. Visit absa.co.za to get a quote and move to ABSA Insurance today. Your story matters. ABSA, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
With Defender, you know there's an unmatched strength and purposeful design. But did you know there's also guaranteed future value finance, where at the end of your term, you can refinance, trade in, or retain your Defender. That's worth knowing. Find out more at Land Rover Sandton. T's and C's apply. Finance is subject to approval. Land Rover Finance, a product of Westbank, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider, NCR CP20.
And they're off! Bet 50 Rand or more on horse racing with Hollywood Bets, and you could win over 2 million Rand in prizes, including a brand new Golf GTI or an Amoda Elegance S. Bet now to race to the finish line. T's and C's apply.
Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. Hollywood Bet supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Still shopping around for a saving here and a deal there? With over 1,500 deals every week. Choose Checkers and save on Lay's potato chips 120 grams, any 3 for 55 Rand. Save 23%. Sunfoil pure sunflower oil, 2 litres for 59.99. Save 20 Rand. And Parmalat salted butter, 500 grams for 74.99. Valid until Sunday at Checkers and Checkers Hyper. Or shop on 6060.
Jamaica. An island of swaying palms, calm seas, and peace. That is, until the Mzansi housewives arrive.
Welcome to our villa.
What do you want?
I can't believe they're here like 2 minutes and they're already fighting.
Watch your favorite all-star divas bring the heat and, of course, the drama in The Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip South Africa. Start streaming it now. Sign up at showmax.com. See you in paradise.
In today's digital era, internet and broadband data services are essential for consumers and businesses to thrive. Zaltec Telecoms is at the forefront of providing innovative solutions to transform traditional businesses and homes into fully connected digital environments, offering a range of tailored telecommunication services, including fiber, as well as solar power and green energy solutions. Visit zaltectelecoms.co.za to unlock a world of connectivity.
Previously on Marawa Sports Worldwide.
Well, I suppose they teach them young, so the golden adage says, and that's exactly the part that South Africa's under-15 girls national team currently are on. Now, they clinched continental silverware. That was after their victory in the CAF African Schools Football Championship that was staged in Zanzibar. Coach Ntomfuthi Khumalo.
But the credit must go to my players. The CAF, it's not an easy competition. If you're not strong as a team.
What for you gave you the belief that maybe somewhere, somehow, deep down inside, anything could happen in the manner that it's happened now?
Before we went to tournament, I was telling myself, this kid will take us to final.
Hashtag MSW. Hashtag MSW. Wednesday nights, soccer nights, your nights.
Good evening, Rob, and good evening to the legend, Benni McCarthy, sending this voice note from a voting station. Couldn't miss the show. Rob, I don't think we as South Africa appreciate Benni McCarthy compared to what I've experienced in Portugal. Rob, I got the opportunity to go to Porto, a city of Guimarães, and also the historical site of Sintra. Rob, couldn't believe what I heard, how the people spoke glowingly of our icon, Benni McCarthy, but I also found out from the legend. Benni, do you think with the Champions League final coming up this weekend, we've got somebody or we've got an opportunity or a possibility of anybody emulating the Benni McCarthy and lining up for the Champions League final and having that anthem played in front of us, seeing a South African lining up there for that iconic match? Just want to hear your views around that, and what is it that we need to do to improve in that aspect of the game. Thank you so much. Wishing you all the best.
Hey, Benni McCarthy. Hey, you remember that tune, my friend?
I've experienced that. We were in the Champions League this year, so I've enjoyed it very much.
Any chance of anybody emulating what you did with the great Jose Mourinho? And I think what Tebogo is highlighting, and a lot of people would agree with him, is the fact that you are not as appreciated here at home as they do in Portugal.
Robbie, that is only for our South Africans. We know what we do to each other and how we hold each other on that front. So unfortunately it is a shame, but it is what it is. So, but for me, I every time I go to Portugal, I go to Spain, you feel the appreciation and the love, and sometimes you just wish that this was happening in our own country, Why do people have to pass on? You have to go to another life, or for you to be appreciated or to be celebrated. But unfortunately, that's a question. That's a question for another time. And we as South Africans, we have to sit and think about how it is, but it's just how it is. So unfortunately, I can't change that. Or everyone that's done something important in their lives that affected South Africa, if how people treat them, how people like give them their flowers, that's their business. But I know it is really tough and it's really hard, but we keep going on, and you just keep on. Whatever you do, you always try and make sure that South Africa name will always be high up there, because that's who I represent. I don't represent myself. I represent my country, and everything I do, every success is for South Africa. So hopefully, I will still be alive to see things change and people really uplift and appreciate what we've done for our country.
All right, Benny, thanks so much indeed for that. We'll come back and hear maybe an answer to these questions, because Tom's back from Edenville. Tom, thank you so much for your patience, man. Good evening. And your question to Benny.
Yes, Rob, thanks so much. I want to ask Benny, what informed the decision to release David De Gea and bring in Onana, who had a very terrible season? What was the reason behind releasing such a good goalkeeper for an ordinary one? And number two, I want to find out from Coach Benny, is it that Coach Ten Hag is losing the dressing room, looking at the spats he had with players like Rashford, Garnacho, Greenwood, and lately Sancho? Is it like he's losing the dressing room? How is he managing the players? His man management, when Benny looks at it, how is it? That's my question, Rob.
Nice one, Tom. Thank you very much indeed. Appreciate it. Let me double it up with a caller from Joburg in the east, Njabulo. Good evening.
Evening, Big Rob. Well, my question is around Lyle Foster. I just wanted to find out from Coach Benny, how did he try motivating Lyle Foster, who had a probably disappointing season this year, and how do you maybe motivate him to say you can come back and be strong and be a better player?
Nice one. Thank you very much indeed. Proper questions that are coming through from our shareholders here on hashtag MSW. Maybe let me start off with the issue around the dressing room. De Gea, letting him go. Onana, he describes him as having had a very ordinary season. Do you agree with that, Benny?
I think it is tough for anyone when you come into a club like Manchester United. It's an institution. There's so much history. There's so much that you have to prove. That all the great goalkeepers and players that's played for the club, and you come in, and then Andre, I think, is the first African goalkeeper to have played for Man United. The manager knew him. The manager was with him at Ajax, and he knows his attributes, his caliber, and what he was coming in to do. So it was a managerial choice. Yes, everyone, we love David. David was an iconic player for the club. Unbelievable history, been here 10 plus years for Man United. But unfortunately, when your time's up, and the manager just felt that he wanted a change, and he wanted to bring in a goalkeeper that he knows very well, that's really good with his feet and everything else, and that's why the manager wanted to bring in Andre Onana, and also especially what he's done when he played in the Champions League final for Inter Milan. I think everyone was super excited of having Onana coming in if we could get him. So You know, he would have provided good fight for David De Gea, but then obviously then De Gea was let go, and there that was a club manager's decision, and it was out of our hands. There was nothing we could do about it. So, you know, you just have to accept, and you got to move on. And I think now we got to try and make Andre become the best goalkeeper that you see, because you see him, you see the ability, you see the quality in trainings every day, because he is lightning quick under the sticks. But yeah, when it comes to games time, but lapse of concentration sometimes, and you know, you get punished at that level. But he's a phenomenal goalkeeper for me. What I see every single day, and he will get better. And then I think once he's settled in, once he's found his feet properly, I think people will then learn to appreciate what we see every day.
We had a very unfortunate situation around Lyle Foster, and I think it's also part of what Njabula was asking about. I remember his dad, Lance, giving me a call and saying, listen, you know, Lyle would want to do an interview because he wants to talk about mental health issues. And I was very shocked, though, because, I mean, here's a guy who's kind of broken your record when it comes to transfers and transfers out of South Africa to Europe or to any part of the world. And you would imagine that everything is fine. And it turned out everything was not fine. And that is why they managed him not to play for his club, and invariably he did not play for his country. And South Africans obviously took umbrage to that. And even when they got relegated, South Africans were so happy. They literally celebrated when I put the post up myself to say that, you know, Burnley had been relegated, and everybody was like jumping up and down. It was very weird, very strange to see. How and what would you say to somebody like that in that situation, in that position, Benny?
Robbie, it's a really tough one, and it's one that's really difficult to understand why people would celebrate because a team gone down, because a player didn't decide to play for the national team to represent the country at a level, at the international level, because of what he was going through in that time. And that's sad. That is sad, like for us South Africans to be celebrating because Burnley went down because of the punishment for Lyle Foster. Let me tell you something now, Rob. Mental health is slowly becoming the fastest killer out there. The amount of people that you've seen suffering with mental health issues, a lot of people still keep to themselves. They don't want to share what they're feeling and the suffering that they go into. So you do it in silence, you do it in private. And I think that is the biggest mistake that one can do. And the fact that Lyle came out as a football player, as a man, he's came out and say about it is hard. Sometimes adapting to foreign places, when you don't speak the language, when the culture is different, the food is different, everything else, you got to deal with all those things. Not everyone has crocodile skin. Not everyone has the mental toughness to handle that, to get over that, you know. So when someone is reaching out and suffering and going through things, you got to help. You got to put that person first. And yes, you get paid a lot of money to play football, but if you going through those difficulties, mental difficulties, not even God can save you from playing the best football that you want to, because you're suffering with mental illness. That it finishes you. So we have to be a bit more compassionate. You know, you have to take people's well-being in consideration before anything else, before football match, before anything else. Doesn't matter the amount of money that you earn or the clubs that you are paid. If you are not able to play with a full concentrated mind, then that you're not going to be able to produce the results for your team, for your owners, you know, the company that you work for. You won't excel because you're dealing with some some demons inside, up until that is fixed, until you in a better place to be able to go out and then face the world and then go and do your job at the level that you know you're supposed to, you can. And that's the only time anything will be successful. And yeah, so Lyle was dealing with that, and I was reaching out. I was reaching out as well. I was trying to speak to Lyle, but yeah, like I said, it's difficult. You're going through difficult, and that was it. So I was trying to help in the best possible way. And yes, I understand. We want to see, when we South Africans, we have players playing in the top league and that, yes, we want them to play for South Africa. And I would have loved to have seen Lyle at that tournament, but I understood fully, that he wasn't let go to go play there. And it wasn't like he was playing for Burnley. He wasn't playing for Burnley either. You understand what I mean? So we can't crucify him where his club didn't force him to up until he started being better. He started coming through, and yes, South Africa then went all the way to the final. So then when Lyle eventually started playing, then it looked like he didn't want to play for his country, but that is not true, because I see Lyle quite a bit when we're here, because we don't stay too far from each other, and we sit, and that's all he wants to do. That's all Lyle wants to do is, to become the all-time top goal scorer for South Africa, to break my record, and we talk about that, and I encourage him to do so. But yeah, it will be difficult, because now he's got that hanging over his head that he didn't go because of mental issues, not because he didn't want to go and play. Of course he wanted to go, but he was advised by doctors, by the club, by everyone. So yeah, you have to follow protocol. And that's what the decision that was made, and that didn't sit well with South Africa. But yeah, people have to forgive, because we've got a young man there that's at the top of his game, and believe you me, I watched when we drew against Burnley. I was rubbing my eyes out, because I thought Lyle was that good that he would fit like a glove in our team, in that Man United team. His movement was unbelievable. Maguire, they couldn't deal with Lyle because of his movement. He's quick, and he's a player that will benefit playing in that national team from South Africa. So yes, we have to forgive him. We have to forgive him, because it wasn't by choice. He didn't want to not play for the country. He was suffering. He was going through illness, and mental health is a massive illness. We see it every day. We deal with it every day. We are told when you work at teams like Man United, you got to look out for these kind of signs. So yeah, you get them everywhere, So we have to move on. We have to forgive and forgive. And Lyle is a top class player, and he would lead that lines for the national team unbelievably, because he's quick. He's got unbelievable first touch. His move.
Sorry, Benny. Sorry to cut in here. You know what? That's the anger I'm going to bring to a lot of people, though, because feeling and hearing the emotion that you're attaching to how you're describing Lyle was difficult to break in. But I am flat out of time, completely out of time. I am going to see you, though, when you do come into the country. Please, you owe us a visit here. But I just wanted to thank you ever so much indeed for giving us a little bit of time. If maybe we make more arrangements with you, we could finish with another hour on another day. But thank you so much indeed, Benny, and enjoy the break that you deserve.
Definitely, Robbie. Whenever you need me, you know where I am. And yeah, thanks for having me on the show. And to all the listeners, keep listening, keep supporting, and yeah, hope to see you guys soon as well.
Thank you so much. That's Benni McCarthy joining us from the UK. Apologies, it's 2 minutes after.
#MSW live on 947 Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Sowetan Live at the same time. #MSW.